What up, this is Patrick Haize. In this video, I want to talk about my experience with time traveling. Yes, I know this sounds pretty grandiose, but I have had an experience that is quite odd that I would like to share with you, where I got a different understanding of what time is and what traveling through time is. So this time traveling, the way that I'm using this term, is maybe not exactly how you think of it, because it's not like I went back to, it's not like Back to the Future, where like I went back to 1985 and like had some experience and that changed the future or anything like that. But it was actually a whole different understanding of different directional movements of time and also its correlation with parallel dimensions. So this experience happened a long time ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I was at this place, and I won't go into all the details of it. I was having a visionary experience, and everything was building up, and it was quite interesting. All of a sudden, everything stopped, and it was like, ah! There was like, that's like the feeling of it. It was like, ah! And then it was like 10, 9, 8. It was like a countdown. And then it's 5, 3, 2, 1. And then it felt like, bruh, Happy New Year's, like what it felt like. But everything stopped, like all time stopped, and nothing was moving. And for a second, I was just kind of sitting there and being like, okay, what's going on? And then I noticed myself get a little bit excited about the experience, like this is really cool. And then I started moving forwards in time. I was like, oh, okay, time's moving forward. And then I was like, wait, what's going on here? And I got a little bit afraid. And then I started moving backwards in time. And for the next few hours, I was going through this experience of feeling myself move either forwards in time or backwards in time based off of the kinds of vibrations that I was experiencing. And so after a while of surfing this like crazy psychedelic wave, I started to stabilize my understanding that as I raised my vibration, I went forward in time. And as I lowered my vibration, I went backwards in time. And so this started revolutionizing my entire perspective for what time travel is, or how time even works. So the way I understand it now is that there's infinite different parallel dimensions. And any one of these different parallel dimensions has a particular, say, timeline that plays out linearly in the physical world. So this would be that, like, you throw a ball in the air, it goes up and it comes down, and it came down after it went up. That's the linearity of the physical space-time dimension of time moving forward, right? You threw it up and then it came down. But then there's a whole different dimension of time, and this has to do with, in a sense, like soul's time and the time of a soul's progression. And this time is on, say, like a different clock. This is on a vibrational clock. And that as you move up in your vibration, you're actually moving forward in time. But as you move lower in vibration, you're moving backwards in time. So you time travel via your vibration. And as you grow and evolve, you're moving more towards, the way I see it, is like the central expression of your divine self at the center of like kind of like a giant bullseye. And you can travel through that in a lot of different ways. You could travel the long way like this, or you could travel going through all the different archetypes and all of the different, dramas in the world that teach you about life and teach you more about yourself. Or you can maybe find like a little loop and then cut in towards the center and move more towards your divine self, which requires extreme flexibility. And that's a whole different thing. I'll make a video on that later. But essentially, time for the soul is like moving towards your grandest expression, which is moving like more like forward in time, or moving away from that, and that's moving backwards in time. And then in doing that, you'll find yourself skipping to different parallel dimensions. And these different parallel dimensions, each one of them will have their own progression in the linear space-time expression of time where that plays out. So when oftentimes people talk about time travel, they're talking about this like linear dimensional, parallel dimension time. And they're talking about maybe like, going back in time or going forward in time on that particular timeline. But the kind of time travel that I'm talking about, that I experienced, was a vibrational timeline that shifted me across parallel dimensions and more towards or away from my true expression as a person. And that is like a higher order of time. right? This is like a grander kind of time, or a more universal kind of time that in a sense kind of permeates in between and through all of the other parallel dimension timelines that have their own linear progression. Like an evolutionary timeline that is vibrational based, and it's a matter of realizing one's true essence and crystallizing that into awareness and consciousness and grounding that. And that's like its own timeline that permeates through all these other timelines. And then you shift across these other timelines, but you're on two different timelines at once. So thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Haize. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you found this video interesting, you thought someone else might find it interesting, please share that with them, and I would really appreciate it. So thanks again, and I will talk to you next time. One love.